This session is called CantStopColumbus, a community response to COVID-19. And I have here with me Mihir Amin and Mackenzie King. I hope I'm saying your names correctly, but you can always correct me. So they're part of the Code for America Volunteer Brigade OpenColumbus. And I'm gonna read a small introduction. Mihir is a software engineering lead at Olive Inc. and is passionate about using his skills to help his community. As an organizer of both OpenColumbus Code for America Brigade and CantStopColumbus, Mihir helps his peers to learn new skills and connects them to experts in their fields. And Mackenzie believes in human-centered design and works across industries to integrate customer voices in the innovation process. She was product owner and strategist for the open source data platform Smart Columbus operating system, as well as being part of the leadership team of CantStopColumbus and a member of OpenColumbus. Welcome so much, Mackenzie and Mihir. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pass the mic to you so you can start your presentation.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sophia. As you're joining, go ahead and put in the chat channel, everyone, your name and where you're from so we can better understand who's here. And if you could let us know what brigade affiliation you're with, that would really help us better understand who's here as well. So thank you so much. My name is Mackenzie King. I'm going to actually hand it off to Mihir to get us started. We are both part of the OpenColumbus Brigade of Code for America in Columbus, Ohio.
Awesome. Thanks, Mackenzie. Hi, I am Mihir Amin, and I guess I really have nothing more to add to my intros. Those were great. Thanks, Sophia and Mackenzie, for that. We can dive right into the exciting content that we prepared for you guys. So here's the agenda. I'm going to first talk a little bit about Columbus, talk about a few things that are special about Columbus, and then go into the mission and vision for CantStopColumbus and OpenColumbus. After that, I'm going to hand it off to Mackenzie to talk about impact and projects and processes, and then we'll bring it back to tools that we use between our two platforms or organizations and what value they're bringing to us. Mackenzie, if you want to go to the next slide. So a few things about Columbus. Columbus, Ohio, that's where we're from right now. There's a few really important things here. There's the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, one of the best in the world. I highly recommend you check it out if you're ever here. We have Jenny's Ice Cream, which is a local ice cream shop that is very popular in the Midwest and is available online throughout the nation. COSI is a center of science and industry. It is a great place to go learn more about science experiments and science. Highly encourage people to attend that as well. We have, of course, the Ohio State University, very popular football team here. If people are familiar with them, it's a great university. We have we have the Columbus Crew as well, another great sports team. Fun little fact, it's one of the first soccer teams in the nation. I believe the Crew Stadium is one of the firsts. Something new that I don't think people are really familiar with is Otherworld. That just came here, I believe, last year. But it is a great space to check out, a great experience to have. We did add also a Legoland. It's a huge area in one of our outlet malls that basically you can become a kid again. Place I would definitely love to go and will be attending. And then we have some local breweries here. Here's a picture of one, Brewdog. It's a local brewery here in town. Oh, actually, I forgot one more. The Columbus Marathon. It's a great event to attend. And then also Pelotonia, I believe. Is that Pelotonia?
Yep.
It might be. Yeah, it's Pelotonia. Yeah. So those are two great events happening in Columbus, and there's a great community around both those events. In the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more stats about Columbus. We're a city of 2.1 million in the Columbus area. We have won a few accolades over the last couple of years. Top tech for talent market in 2016, and I think was it 2018? I saw top places to work. Number 2, the top cities, best place for return on salary. Let me see, one of the best cities to start a business. So if you're ever interested in starting something, definitely stop on by here. We have a great ecosystem for that. I'm not going to read through all of these, but there's a ton of great things here in Columbus. Mackenzie, did you want to add any of these or highlight any specific ones?
Well, in particular, I think Mihir and I, in our work with the Code for America Brigade, we've had a chance to get tapped into the tech community. And what's particularly unique about our tech community is this huge willingness to collaborate across the corporate community, the private sector, the public sector, and really lean into this really challenging time that we're in. So I think this idea of having a really strong knit tech community has led us to what we're going to talk to today, which is the CantStopColumbus initiative.
Wow, perfect. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do actually, before we dive into our story, is invite you to share a little bit about what you guys are going through right now in your neck of the woods. So just open up your laptop or your phone and go to menti.com and use the code 136068. We wanted to ask you a couple quick questions before we dive in. This is such a crazy time that we're all living in, so I wanted to just take the temperature of the room really quick on these 2 questions. What has been the biggest challenge, or what have been the biggest challenges in your community during the pandemic? Go ahead and choose from the options that are listed. That'll help us get a sense of what your community is facing, because everyone's issues are particularly unique to them. So go ahead and click through a couple of these and we'll get a sense of what you're up to. We'll give you just 10 seconds to go ahead and complete those. And I'll show you what everyone is answering. All right, looks like food access is really important and particularly high on the list. Jobs, we've got unemployment rates that are sky high here in the States. Public health, of course, that's quite obvious. You know, we've got very, very high COVID rates right now in the States, unfortunately. Education and digital divide, you're gonna hear a little bit about that today. Supporting local businesses, one of our first projects that started even before we officially convened was a project to support local restaurants. It sounds like that's something that a lot of people are facing as well. And then physical health and wellness, emotional health too, for that matter. All right. And then let's ask the question, which issues did your civic tech community tackle, if any? Did your group, and we can return to this at the very end of our presentation, did your group have any particular projects? What we're hoping to find out today is what projects are open source and available to others, and if there are any, we can share notes. It looks like a couple people supporting local businesses and public health. All right. Cool. Well, let's return back to the presentation. Thank you guys for sharing that information with us. I'm going to hand it back to Mihir to explain what CantStopColumbus is and how we got started, and particularly what our vision is for the future.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited to see those results at the end for that second question.
Yeah.
So CantStopColumbus, so the way we actually started was through a tweet by one of our organizers, Jordan Davis. And the idea was, how do we create a virtual hackathon to crowdsource technology solutions to address the problems that the public's facing. And then from there, we kind of just took off. We got some Helm, which was a group out of Ohio State. They built a website for basically crowdsourcing projects and get more visibility into it. So we worked with some different organizations to stir up some projects. OpenColumbus as well, the Code for America Brigade jumped in, as well as some other public and private sectors. Got involved early on to plan this virtual hackathon and figure out how we're going to make this work. If you want to go to the next slide, I think that has a little bit more details. Yeah, so this basically on Sunday, March 15th was when we started talking about this virtual hackathon idea. And with the, social distancing, no school and remote work and the how hard this was hitting our communities, we were trying to figure out a way to engage the community safely, but also provide the value to an impact to the community. And then from there, we kind of spurred into a organization, and instead of a virtual hackathon, we actually ended up making it just became like a rally event where we actually had speakers come and get everyone excited. And as Mackenzie mentioned, the first project that kind of started right around that same time as this group was to help local businesses survive the impacts of COVID. And that was Support Columbus Eats. It's basically a way for them to make sure people are aware of their hours and how to actually get food from them safely, since most of those platforms were not really up to date at the time. For example, Google Maps and Yelp didn't have the modified hours of these restaurants. So we filled a need there. So that was the main thing, is we wanted to help Columbus not only survive, but thrive in this new environment. How can we make it so Columbus would come out of the other side of this stronger than ever? How do we get this huge tech community to come together, build these tools, build these things for the community, and then just make it safer and better for everybody? A little bit about OpenColumbus. So this actually started a few years ago. It came out of a hackathon itself, a smart city hackathon. So Columbus, gosh, what was it, back in 2015, I think it was, they won the smart city grant. Mackenzie, is that accurate?
2016, yeah, it was a $40 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. So it really kickstarted some important work in the smart city sphere, specifically for really innovative solutions to get people from one place to another.
Yes, so it was a great time to be in Columbus at that time, especially. The smart city, with that grant, the city created a platform, an open source platform, where they're housing all the data that was being collected. And they had these mini hackathons, or not these hackathons every year, where the community could actually access that data and build cool things on top of it. And in one of those, in the summer of 2017, myself and some of the other community members actually got together afterwards to continue on with our projects, and we really saw there was a big community around a community around, helping out, building tools for the community that mattered, and using the data that we've collected, or the city's collected, and actually providing value back. So we created this group, and at that time we were named Smart Columbus Open Data Enthusiasts, which is a mouthful. But since then, we've actually been doing a lot. We've been really focused on civic tech. And in the fall of 2019, we actually talked to Code for America and became a Brigade, a Columbus chapter for them. So we changed our name to OpenColumbus at that time. And this is our new logo. Since then, we've also been working in tandem with CantStopColumbus as well, to help provide a singular voice for our community, a single place to actually pull our talents and provide impact and value. So back to CantStopColumbus. So I think I mentioned a few of these terms before, but this is our vision. We not only want to survive the challenges created by this pandemic, but we also want to emerge stronger and more resilient. Stronger, obviously, because the solutions we're delivering make a difference in the lives impacted by COVID. More resilience because the solutions we're providing will also they make a difference to those impacted by COVID, but they also help outside of that as well, right? We're delivering solutions where the community's most urgent needs are currently. And those have impacts outside of COVID. So basically we're trying to get the tech community and all these highly talented individuals and have them focus on these most urgent needs. So yeah.
And now to impact. So we wanted to share with you a little bit about what these projects are and what areas we've been tackling. And here's the sort of eye chart, overwhelming list of what those projects are. And we're so proud that we've been able to tackle initiatives across different categories. So I wanted to share a couple of them with you, but also give you this larger snapshot of what we're up to. So let's see, Mihir, you mentioned Support Columbus Eats. As part of our support local small businesses, we also have an initiative that brings together food trucks for a drive-through experience that allows for social distancing. We've had a lot of food trucks that have been challenged by this pandemic because they don't have the lunch crowds that they used to. And some of these projects feel a little bit more programmatic than, in fact, like technology oriented. And that was something that we were quite proud of. So that one might feel a little bit more of a programmatic initiative that involves people that work in the event planning space, but still leveraging some of the technology solutions to get those volunteers mobilized and organized and so on. Let's see, we've got curbside concerts, which I'll share with you in a moment via a video. For our hunger and food track, we've partnered with the food bank here in the area for an initiative called Fresh Track that helps the food banks track the inventory in their actual food pantries across the region. It helps them then give people an understanding of what they're going to get before they get there. We're all in this together actually is an interesting story because we had several restaurants come together and put a Kickstarter online early in the pandemic days, and they raised tens of thousands of dollars to feed the service industry and the healthcare workers of our region. But once they did that, they realized, wow, we raised a lot more than we expected. So what they ended up doing was leaning on us to build the back end technology platform that helps them schedule and deliver and organize all of the volunteers behind the scenes to deliver over 20,000 meals. So we're really proud of that team and what they've been able to accomplish as well. All right, let me jump over a quick shout out to our friends that have worked on Columbus Helper. That technology we're actually going to feature here as part of the Code for All Summit on the 20th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have VJ on the line. Hi, VJ, who is going to help present with me here that particular project. And that's essentially a way for people that are in need of social services to figure out really quickly where that social service provider is by a really easy navigation of a simple question: what are you in search of? Are you in search of food or shelter services or transportation services? And it takes them to an interactive map that then can allow them to find that social service provider via Google directions. And Let's see, which other one can I tell you about? Digital divide. This was a really fun one. I'll tell you about here in a couple moments when I tell you about the process, but I'm sure many of you are experiencing this either as students yourself or as maybe parents. There are a lot of students and families that don't have access to the internet and available laptops and smartphones. So we wanted to figure out ways in which we could support them. So I'll tell you that story here in a couple moments as I talk about our process. All right, can't talk about all of them, but those are a couple to give you a quick snapshot. And then this is one I want to tell you a little bit more about via a video. So here we go. Oh.
I remember when I lost my mind. There's something so special about that place. Even your emotions have an echo.
Oh, sorry. I guess I can't show you in full screen.
Mackenzie, I think you hit the YouTube video. Like there's a full screen mode in this YouTube video.
There we go. Thank you.
I remember when I lost my mind. There's something so special about that place. Even your emotions have an echo, so much space. I've been cooped up in my house for almost 2 weeks. Ain't got nothing to eat. Oh, but mac and cheese. Does that make me crazy? Think I'm going crazy. Think I'm going crazy in quarantine. Stop buying up all the toilet paper in town. Oh, y'all look like a bunch of clowns. Come on now, who do you think you are? Buying up all the hand sanitizer. Oh, I thought you might have got a little wiser. I think I'm going crazy. I think I'm going crazy. I think that family back there is going crazy in quarantine. I hope this brought you a smile and brightened up your day. I don't know what else to say. Maybe tip me anyway. I think I'm going crazy. I think he's going crazy. I think I'm going crazy in quarantine. Can't stop Columbus, we're free from playing tunes. Oh, we're gonna bring it all right to you. If you don't mind what we do. Hey man, love each other today. Love each other, okay? We'll be back sometime, you guys, but make sure you're taking care of your neighbors and looking out for all these people, man, because all we have is each other. You guys be careful out there. Be safe. Thank you.
All right, so that is one of our projects called Curbside Concerts. And I wanted to share that because, you know, it shows the power of the arts in this tremendously challenging time, and it shows how we have been all so hungry for one another and for the love that the arts can bring, and just seeing your neighbor across the street and hearing a song could be so powerful. And I want to tell you a little bit about how that project came to fruition. But before I do, take a look at some of our other partners and projects. That particular project was in partnership with our city and the city council. The city council came to us and said, we're really concerned about senior citizens in particular and the loneliness they're experiencing. So many of them are told, don't go outside at all. Don't go to the grocery store. Don't go out and run your errands. Don't meet up with your family because you are so vulnerable. So we went through a process, which I'll share in a couple moments, to arrive at this particular solution. And this solution was a technology platform that allowed people to request concerts. Go ahead online, curbsideconcerts.com, and request a concert. Of course, you got to be in Columbus in order to receive it, but you request it. You can even make a couple requests of particular types of songs that might resonate most. And we've received such heartwarming responses back that people have celebrated their birthdays and anniversaries and special moments with these concerts. So while it doesn't seem like a traditional civic tech solution, we've been really proud to see the impact that it can bring. Some of the other projects and partners, let's see, we have a project in partnership with COSI. So Mihir mentioned one of our favorite tourist destinations is the Center of Science and Industry. It's one of the biggest and best science museums in the country. We partnered with them and that was in tandem to address the digital divide challenge and having so many parents at home trying to work and teach their kids, and the challenge of not being a teacher, but in having to learn how to interact with your kids while you're also working, keep them busy. I'll share in a couple moments a little bit more about that project. We've also partnered with the Greater Columbus Arts Council for an initiative to bring some uplifting visual arts to the community. A series of mural cubes, 8 feet by 8 feet, were put up in hospitals in addition to high traffic areas that are sort of close to the grocery stores that people were frequenting, and also just timing the deployment of those during the reopening of our community. So those 8 foot by 8 foot cubes were an opportunity for artists to make a statement about how we can uplift our community, and most importantly, to give them a paid opportunity to do so because so many were out of work. Also did a series of posters and postcards that were designed by artists and given back to healthcare workers in our community. All right, so that's a lot to show you. Let me go ahead and give you a little bit more, about what that process looked like. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
I think you just close out of this tab. Oh.
There it goes. All right, so our process. At the front of our process has been our principles. And in our principles, what has been really important is these 6 areas of love, humility, service, urgency, curiosity, and impact. And Mihir and I are part of a team of about 12 people that serve as organizers, but there are a couple other groups of people behind the scenes that make all of these projects possible. And it's taken a minute to put them into place, but it's been tremendously helpful in ensuring that they're helping all of us organizers look through the lens of these principles as we're launching projects, and to ensure that the impact can become apparent as we go through. So what I mean by that is we've got our organizers, we've got a team called our navigators, which I think Mihir is going to share a little bit more about later. We've also got a team called our program success team, which sort of serve behind the scenes to just check in with our project leads. And they're constantly looking for these principles, and we like to then, at each of our all hands meetings, celebrate and give kudos to one of those individuals through the lens of these principles in front of our entire community. Our process. So we've looked at our process both from a rigorous standpoint of defining it and building it, but also in reflecting upon what it needs to be to help us more sustainably move our organization forward. And I pulled this squiggle line from the internet because it's something that I've used in my consulting work, because I've been a consultant for about 10 years. And as I define that front end of a process, I like to just draw this on a whiteboard and talk through it a little bit, because what we discover is those first phases can feel a little messy and can feel a little uncomfortable for some people. You've got to navigate ambiguity, and that's when the research is happening. The research where you're out there talking to the people in need, the understanding what those user needs are from a technology solution standpoint or from the programmatic standpoint. As I mentioned, we started that curbside concerts. We didn't know it was going to turn into curbside concerts, but that project we started by talking to senior citizens and understanding what was it that they were facing in their daily life that was particularly challenging, what was missing, what was the gap. And then that problem identification and definition of feeling lonely led into design research in more depth with those senior citizens, helping us arrive at a specific concept. In that case, the curbside concert concept. The prototype then provides more clarity and focus, and then a minimum viable product is built, and we iterate. And here's a more detailed version of what is happening in each step. As I mentioned, problem identification definition can feel a little fuzzy, but we're bringing diverse stakeholders to the table, diverse voices. We're understanding that landscape. We're starting to assess those behavioral and systemic causes. And then from the design research perspective, we're building empathy with those users. And we tend to put a little bit of rigor and structure around this so that we can compare and contrast those insights. So what I mean by that is go ahead and put together an interview list of questions that you can ask each of the stakeholders that you've selected, and use those questions to ensure you're getting feedback and consistency across those insights. At the point where you're refining those insights, you're starting to develop hypotheses and success testing criteria. Then shifting into prototype, which what I've noticed in a lot of civic tech community experiences, oftentimes people are so eager to get to the prototype that they skip the design research step, and that can be really dangerous. So we actually have what it feels like very different groups from the design research phase to the prototype phase. And what I mean is, we've got different agencies in town, consultancies and corporate teams that come to us and say, hey, we're willing to give you our team as it is. We've normed and formed, give you our team to do that design research phase, and then synthesize all those insights and hand it off to you. And what happens then is that eager team of developers and designers can then take that deck of insights and ideas and concepts and start to prototype it. And so we've done that a couple times now. And what happens in the prototype phase is obviously mocking up those solutions. So using whatever prototyping tool is most familiar and building that MVP. And then it becomes an iterative process, as you guys know. So getting feedback and testing that particular solution, building up the brand, setting up that infrastructure to scale. And I wish I had the number for our curbside concerts, but we've done hundreds of curbside concerts at this phase. And I'll tell you, that video came from pretty early on and is one of my favorites. But we have a slightly different flavor for each one. But nowadays our brand is all over those trucks. Those trucks have been donated for use by a local company that sells trucks, Reichert's, and that brand has been developed across social media platforms as well. So we can then put some ad dollars behind getting more concerts. And then of course, iterating, growing your reach, and so on. So what does that look like from the perspective of real projects? I mentioned COSI briefly. I'll give you a deeper dive into what we did with them. You see this little drawing on the left-hand side. I was so excited to see this because this was done by a woman who I've worked with before, but I've never seen this talent from her before, which is always fun. But it says underneath, I was feeling like an octopus, LOL, trying to cook, clean, be a teacher, work from home, and do my hair and look decent. And it just goes to show what the challenge of being a parent is looking like today. So this particular question that we posed to the nationwide innovation team was, how might we help working parents of kindergarten to 8th grade students with schooling for their kids? And they went through that process that I mentioned of getting to know a whole series of, I think it was 12 parents, most of which were from the city of Columbus schools, and some teachers as well. And what they came to was this idea to create a space for kids to teach their parents what they learned beyond the "what did you learn today" question, to provide just a little bit of structure and a unique experience that would allow them to demonstrate what they learned. So we heard from teachers that they think this might help with retention. Super love them presenting what they learned through a video. So this idea of what if they became the teacher, and introduced the concept that they just learned via a video that could be shared with other kids. So we went to COSI, the Science Museum. We said, hey, what do you think of this idea of having kids create these videos and taking on the teach back method? And they said, let's do it. So we got together a design team that created a whole lesson plan kit. We put that online, and we gave some instructions and some sample lesson plans for parents to go ahead and equip their young sons and daughters to go ahead and do it. And we've created a whole series from there. And COSI has a couple videos now on their site that tell this story. So feel free to visit them to check it out in more detail. Next, we have the process that we went through with an agency called Lextant, very similar process. The YMCA and the City of Columbus City Council came to us and said, hey, how might we help childcare facilities build confidence and capabilities in reopening? And so Lextant is a place where I actually worked for a couple years. They work with primarily big corporations like Procter & Gamble and major car manufacturers, and help those car manufacturers or consumer packaged goods companies understand what their next product needs to be, specifically what features and benefits they need to deliver. And they go through a really rigorous process with consumers to define what those things need to be. So what does a luxury vehicle need to look and feel like? And in this case, what does a childcare facility need to look and feel like in order for it to be and feel safe? So they created, this is just one model that you're seeing here on the bottom, a series of visuals and some research and insights to go along with it that explains the ideal journey and experience of returning to childcare. And that's as defined by parents and staff. So they actually talk to real parents, real staff. And then the desired emotional experience along with the benefits. So what we've done, and we're still in the process of doing this, is we've taken these insights and now handed them off to a team that is designing an app that will communicate with parents throughout the day to help them understand those protocols, help them understand the schedule for pickup and drop off, and then also share with the parents some images of their kids in safe environments throughout the day. So build them confidence around the safety of the childcare facility. And yes, there are apps out there that do this, but they're very, very expensive. So a lot of these small childcare facilities, imagine like a facility that only has a dozen kids and is perhaps in a home, they don't have the availability to that app. So we're gonna help them build their own. All right, tools. So you've heard me talk a lot. I'm gonna hand it off to Mihir to talk a little bit about how we've used some tools in our process to help our community of volunteers do the volunteering. And I'm surprised I haven't mentioned this yet, but we're so proud to have over 1,500 people have joined our Slack community, over 400 of which have registered as volunteers to contribute to these projects. And what I mean by that is they've completed a volunteer form that I think, Mihir, you're probably going to describe here in a minute. So I will hand it off to you. And before we do, I'll play this video that is the introduction video to our Slack channel.
Welcome to CantStopColumbus Slack channel. Thank you so much for being here and for volunteering some of your valuable time. A lot of you are asking, what is CantStopColumbus? CantStopColumbus is a community-driven movement to ensure an effective response to the COVID-19 situation. With Columbus seeing events canceled and restaurants, schools, and universities closing, businesses have begun to suffer, workers are adjusting to doing their jobs remotely or not at all, and students have been asked to leave their schools. Countless unprecedented problems are being slowly exposed as social distancing and quarantine have the potential to negatively impact small businesses, nonprofits, and our community. CantStopColumbus connects those problems, ideas, and projects to community leaders, professionals, and other helpful members of the community. We are pooling together our knowledge, time, and resources to create real solutions to real problems the Columbus community is facing. So if you and your community are in need, or if you just want to help, then CantStopColumbus is here for you, and we appreciate your help. How does it work? First off, we'd love to learn more about your skills and interests, so please sign up on the volunteer page below. Second, if you want to join a project, check out the list of projects looking for members on our projects page at the other link below. Then join that specific project Slack channel by searching project in the Slack channels. Once you have, or if you have your own idea to share, you can post it in the ideas channel to see if there's interest. And if you have some traction and some people interested in making moves on it, you can submit it to the project page below. Lastly, if you have any questions or clarification needed, go to the questions channel. We'll be happy to help you out there. There's a lot of people here. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but let us know a little bit more about you and your interests. Then join a project, get to work as fast as you can, and there are going to be a lot of people that are grateful for your time and for your help. If you have any questions, reach out, but thank you for being here.
All right, Mihir, you want to tell us a little bit more about what we've been doing in the Slack space?
Sure. Well, that was a great intro. That did cover the intake form, which was something I wanted to really highlight. As Mackenzie's mentioned, we have over 1,600 now members in Slack, and of those, over 400 have actually filled out the volunteer form. And as the video mentioned, it's basically a way for us to gauge what interests our volunteers, because we really want to make sure that we plug them into projects where they're interested in and not just places we have need. But as they, on this slide, you'll see actually on the far right, there's the Slack channels. So when they first join, they won't be in all these channels. They'll just be in some of them. So like I think one thing I'm really proud of this group is actually creating these first 5 here. You'll see it starts with 00, get started, 001 is introduce yourself. And we kind of made it easy for them to find the Slack channels that they should be a part of at the very beginning. And as they mentioned in the video, there's urgent needs, which is where projects that have urgent needs will post what their needs are and how much time they expect things to take or what it is. But if you have an idea, you want to pitch it, there's a pitches channel as well as a brainstorm channel. So if you have just an idea that you don't want to pitch, but just throwing it out there for somebody else to ideate on, we have a channel for that as well. The one thing I want to actually call out that wasn't in the video is we actually have this group of fantastic people that are called navigators. And they're really the linchpin to the Slack, in my opinion. They're the ones that help the people that just join find their place. You know, they're the ones that reach out, make sure that they're talking with all the projects to see what their needs are, where they need people, well, you know, and then they're also talking to the actual new people that join our Slack and plug them into the right spot at the right time. So I can't say enough about the navigators. They have a tremendous role to play in the success we've had. But just to highlight a few things, I think I have 2 slides on Slack, but here is basically more of a visual of some of the great wins we've had in Slack. You'll see some things like some great graphics that have been designed, some publicity we've gotten in the local newspaper, some local news have also done videos on us. And I just wanted to highlight also the bottom left is a slide I believe Mackenzie put together that was basically highlighting some of the brainstorming ideas that have come together, and just trying to we're trying to create a community of engagement and try to get people excited. I didn't mention one of these in the top right. Actually, if you look at when you pitch an idea, it actually comes in this nice little Slack format in the top right image where it says Derek. We talk about what inspired the project and what we think the solution is. And then basically, if you can get enough discussion, enough people interested, you could then form your own project around this and then start through that design, like the whole process Mackenzie mentioned. Mackenzie, if you want to go to the next slide, this is the one I think is very important. So as Mackenzie mentioned, we like at the weekly all hands call with our community, we like to highlight individuals that represent our core values, our core principles. And so we actually have this channel called Kudos, where everybody's encouraged to publicly, or at least in Slack, celebrate the work that others have been doing. And then we just highlight specific ones in our all hands. It's a great place to be. If you are interested, I encourage you to join the Slack and attend our all hands. We're happy to take any and all individuals to help the Columbus community. And you can definitely take these projects and ideas to your communities as well. We'd love to collaborate with your community and cities. Some of these other things, so for example, we mentioned the project channels. There's this project art meeting masterpieces. That one I wanted to highlight because that's actually an interesting one that spans across cities. Basically, this was a way to get local artists to put up templates for Zoom backgrounds, or I guess not templates, put up their own artists' artwork for Zoom backgrounds and then get paid for it. So it was a way to actually get local artists to design something and then actually get paid for their work. And that has places from New York to Columbus. I think I saw Canada on there, if I'm correct, but all these different cities. Another one I want to talk about is the PPE project. So as probably most people are having to do now is wear masks. So the PPE stands for, now I'm blanking on the
Personal protective equipment.
There you go, personal protective, thank you. I was trying to remember what the first P was. But yes, we've had a group actually span into multiple projects around PPEs, and they've actually helped make sure the front lines have masks. We had a group actually work with the sewing group, meetup group here to sew masks, so that way the front line and anybody that needed it, the elderly, actually had masks available. And even now we're helping the city, get these masks, package them up, and provide them for the people in the front lines and everyone that needs them. But yes, our Slack is one of the things I'm most proud of. It's a great space that's very active, which is very awesome. It can be very intimidating, but our navigators do a great job of helping ease in people as they join. Yeah, Mackenzie, do you have anything else to add?
No, it's funny because when we learned that we were going to speak to other civic tech organizers, we couldn't help but mention Slack because it's helped us collect, just be the platform for the communication, be the platform for really celebrating the work that's being done and making sure that people are getting recognition, but then also just to do the work. So thanks for letting us share the Slack momentum that we've experienced. The other tool that we wanted to share is called Miro, or Miro, some people call it. And it is a tool that we've used to do things like this mind map that you're seeing on the screen. This is helping us plan phase 2 of CantStopColumbus. So we had an all hands where we did a series of breakout conversations around which of these thematic areas are most important in this next phase of work that will be occurring over the next several months. And then each of those groups got a series of dots that they literally put next to the name of the thematic area that they think is most important. And then, as you can see, we've circled the ones that we're probably going to focus on in the next few months. But a tool like this, where everyone can quickly log in and look at what is being discussed and literally type in to add to the content, has been really helpful. Here's another zoomed in shot so you can read some of it. But racial equity, we want to, you can't solve that overnight, of course, but we want it to be a place where some of these systemic challenges can be addressed collectively in our community. So we have a couple groups that are trying to do work in the area of racial equity, police reform, supporting protests, etc. Employment obviously has been challenging, so we have a group working on remote interviewing support. And then, of course, local and small business survival will be something that we continue. Here's another example of how we've used Miro, and this is something that we've done with almost all of our projects. We've created a brainstorm breakout session where we can talk about the biggest constraints of that particular challenging area. So in this case, it was digital divide, and then to go ahead and start to ideate around what a solution could be to tackle that. In this case, this is where we started to talk about these resource kits for parents and teachers. And here's another example. This one is returning to childcare. So creating tools for staff, creating artifacts in the facility itself, and then creating communication tools for parents. Those are some of the ideas that we came up with. But as you can imagine, we had a long discussion around that problem space in advance of it. So thanks for letting us share a little bit about the tools that we've used and the projects that have come to fruition. It has been such an incredible journey, an inspiring journey, and Mihir and I are just two people within a much, much larger leadership team. I see that Nate is on. He's also one of our organizers. Anne is on. She's one of our navigators, so shout out to both of them. VJ has been very involved in some of our projects. Shout out to him as well. I mentioned that our future is going to help us. We're going to evolve. We're going to evolve to the urgent needs of our community. We think that technology can help solve some of these particularly wicked problems, these challenges that we're facing. And we want to be a platform for our community of developers, designers, and generally people that just want to support. So some of these more programmatic solutions might be in our future as well. And we're just really excited to see what the future holds and how we evolve. So thanks for letting us share our origin story. Of course, you can reach out to us via email, hello@CantStopColumbus, or you can just jump into our website and learn more about the projects we've talked about. So thanks, everyone. And we'll go ahead and open up to any questions you have or comments.
Mackenzie, did you want to show the Mentimeter
Oh, yeah.
results?
Let's see.
But yeah, while she's doing that, I'm curious on the
Oh, we only have these two. But this is the first question of what have been the biggest challenges in your community during the pandemic. It looks like jobs ended up being the most important top ranking challenge of the community. And I can definitely see that here. I personally was laid off by my consulting gig job and now have a new one, but it's very challenging time to be unemployed. So my heart goes out to everyone that's facing that. Food access, public health, education, and digital divide seem to be the top. Does anyone have any solutions that their community has put out into the world that they want to share with us or tell us about?
This is the space for open questions. So anyone who wants to take the mic and speak about their experiences or make a question, go for it.
Thanks, Sophia.
I do have, well, the rest of the audience decides to participate or not. I do have a question. In Mexico, we started, we have started several projects regarding COVID. And one of the biggest challenges we have had is kind of trying to work with volunteer support. It can be very hard in the sense that not all of the people have the same amount of time, and some of them, for example, start working on something and then kind of in the middle of something they drop it off because they have something else, and so it has been kind of complicated and longer than expected to launch certain projects when you are definitely depending on volunteer support, and it's something that we appreciate a lot, but it's also something that has been kind of hard to cope with, this part of depending on people, time and resources and abilities also. So I would like to know some of the recommendations, because you have had so many projects and so many big things, that I want to hear a bit of what are some of the recommendations that you have for managing this volunteer work or building up projects from the volunteer support only.
Sophia, I think that's the most important challenge that we've faced, and we're facing it all the time too. And we're actually sort of going on a quieter hiatus this month, where we're not quite promoting engagement quite as much, knowing that we've had such amazing engagement. We're giving people a little bit of a break, a summer break for July. But there are a lot of things that I think have helped us tackle that. And this volunteer forum and the navigator team that Mihir had mentioned was one of the key points, because we're being really proactive and encouraging individuals to tackle an area or a need that aligns with their passions and interests and expertise level. It's not one size fits all process for sure, and we haven't had 100% success rate in those matches, but by having more information from that volunteer forum can be a little bit more informed in that matchmaking process, which I think is really important. And then secondly, I'd say that the network here is not something we created by any means. This has been nurtured and grown over 20 years or more, so we can't take the credit for that by any means. But I think what we have found is by nudging the leaders of the tech community and some relatively senior level players in different agencies in town, in different corporate innovation teams, we've been able to get teams of organized tech talent to come to the table together, which is sort of unique, because what you end up finding then is they've already done the norming and the storming of a team. They come with the expertise and skill and the drive, momentum, and general routine and resolve to get a project through to fruition. And we can't do that with every project, but we've done that with several, and then we're really proactive in sharing those success stories as well, so that people can see we've started and finished projects and seen them through to fruition. Mihir, what else do you think? Because it is definitely something that we face with the leads as well, and you've seen that through your weekly calls with the leads.
Yeah, I think that what you just mentioned was great. There's one thing I was I was thinking about, and it's something that one of our actual senior tech leaders in Columbus actually mentioned, which was the volunteer engagement is seasonal. And we've kind of seen that where it's like, as we're taking this month off on really trying to engage more new volunteers, you need to give them a break of, like, you know, the summer break, as Mackenzie put it. But really being, one thing I will say for these projects that we've done, being transparent, and maybe Anne might be able to speak more to this as a navigator, but being more transparent and like upfront with how much time it's going to take, how much time they estimate it's going to take for the individuals will be very helpful, because then you don't get into that world where it's, you expect them to take 10 hours a week to work on the project, but if you don't communicate that and they're thinking they're going to work 5 hours a week, they might jump on board and then, you know, trickle off because they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah, I would say be honest about like the time commitment, and maybe pair up people, sometime tag teaming for the same position, or coding. I don't know exactly. I'm not a tech person, so but tag teaming and having two people work on it so that they can kind of split the time, and maybe when one has other obligations, the other can pick up where they left off, and they're on the same page, and you don't have to get somebody up to speed. I think that's good. And then, like I said, I think what you said was being honest about the time frame and the time commitment, and as well as asking in the volunteer part what their actual time commitment is, so that they are upfront with you about what they can give to you. So I think those would be my 2 points.
Great.
Yeah, and that's a great point about co-teaming up on roles, especially as project leads. We found that's been very successful when we've had two leads basically co-manage the project, because as Anne mentioned, there's one person is busy, the other one can take over, and there's no like loss in momentum from that project. I don't know if that needs to be there for every project, but I know that's had a good success rate with some of our projects.
Thank you so much for the advice and recommendations. For Elaine, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, finally got it off mute. Hi. So my question is more around any organizational tips that you might have. In my experience, a lot of people that gravitate to civic tech either do because they want to help, or they're desperate enough that they need to do something. How do you help focus teams to avoid like duplicate effort, and use resources in a way that teams don't start competing against each other on maybe the same goal, especially in a remote fashion?
That's a great question. And I wonder, so have you faced that exact issue that you have multiple teams working on the same thing? Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting.
It's almost a constant thing that sometimes I have to say, like, please just talk to each other. And I can't seem to find the correct recipe to try to organize maybe myself in how to help these people communicate.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind that we've done is build a big invisible culture, a culture of like making sure people know what's going on. And we do that through a weekly all hands, which we've paused last week because we wanted to give people a bit of a rest, but also through the Slack channels. And I wonder if just inviting those two groups to share with each other directly, and I know that seems like the most obvious answer, so I apologize for stating the obvious, but one other thing that we've done in the food access space, because there was so much energy there, is encourage partners. So we as the organizers stepped in and said, hey, we've got this community partner that desperately needs this specific thing. And then they're the ones, almost a client, to provide the guardrails of what is real and necessary and needed. And they can then help prioritize what is being developed and built. So that feature that, so which one group might have thought was the most important might be sort of demoted in one way or another as less important from the actual voice of the client, the voice of the person that needs it most. And that'll help then prioritize where the focus areas are. And ideally what would happen then is those two groups can both work on the same cause, but perhaps like prioritize different features or functionality to contribute then back to that main code base. At least that's how we've tried to tackle it. And you know, you saw from Mihir's slide about Slack, the project pitches, we actually don't create a project channel until there's at least a handful of people behind one project pitch. And then we're really clear, like, okay, we're creating this project channel for this specific thing. And then working tag team with the project lead to write the project brief. And we try not to be too templatized with what that project brief looks like, but I've found that people actually appreciate being given a template. So getting that template and filling it out and having that project brief sheet, which ends up being like a Google Doc that's 1 or 2 pages, that then helps serve as the North Star and guardrails as well. So perhaps those two teams could create a project brief and compare and contrast where the focus area is, so that you can, you know, many hands make light work. Everyone can sort of divide and conquer the features and functionality that they're working on.
Yeah, I would also add to that, we actually have a program success team that does a lot of this as well. They basically just keep their pulse on all these projects and the direction they're going. And part of it is to make sure there's no overlap. But if you're interested, I encourage you to attend one of our all hands.
Yeah,
that might help get you some ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I would appreciate that.
And then if you want the template we have too, please reach out to hello at CantStopColumbus, and we're happy to share it with you if you want the project brief.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there are any other questions from the audience. You can either speak and unmute your mic, or you can put them in the chat if you want to. And okay, I think there's no more questions.
I don't want to monopolize, but I have another one.
Oh, please go ahead. Like, this is a space for like all the questions are well received. So if anyone has 20,000 questions, go for it.
Please.
So specifically with the COVID response, maybe some background on me. I'm from Code for Puerto Rico, so fellow Code for America Brigade. We've tried to work with or make some sort of COVID-19 response, but have found ourselves almost competing with local efforts from local governments, like the state government or municipalities that are partnered with private companies that are charging to create contact tracing or some sort of process. Have you had to deal with that? And if so, any tips on how to approach a municipality or local government on partnerships?
Oh, that's a tough one. And I was just looking to see if Nate Beckman was still on, and he must have hopped off, because he's one of our organizers that reached out directly to some of our county officials, because you've got, of course, the city, the county, the state. Everyone's trying to tackle something. We've been really fortunate to have a couple people in our organizing team that have really strong relationships with our city council, which has been really helpful in moving some initiatives forward. And I don't know, every city is slightly different, right? So I would encourage you to reach out to whomever that entity is at the city level, because oftentimes they don't know that a civic tech initiative exists, or they don't understand what civic tech is. So it's a bit of an educational awareness initiative. You've probably done that. But Nate went through the process of reaching out sort of cold call style to the county And they were really receptive at first, but then they had something else come up, and they moved their initiative forward on their own. And you know, that's fine. We, you know, no harm done. Like we gave it our best to give them some advice and attention and support, but they just didn't need it at the time, which was totally fine. But yeah, I would, there's no formula for it, but reaching out with some information about what you're doing and who you are and what your entity exists for. We found that there's a lot of warmth in the reception because they didn't know that we exist, and they're starting to now learn about what Code for America is here locally in a way that they might not have known before. And our volunteer community has now a place to contribute. So yeah, I hate to see there isn't a formula, but hopefully Code for America can give you some snazzy looking materials to use as a template to at least make the introduction.
Yep, that's fair.
That's the start.
Yep, great. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay, so actually we're off time. We're about to finish. We're 10 minutes from our time. So I don't know, Fräulein, if you have any other question you would like to ask now.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Great, perfect. So I would like to thank you, all of you. Thank you so much, Mihir. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, and for all of you who are here. And we'll see you on the 20th. Have a great, great day.
Thanks, Sophia.
Thank you.
Thank you.